While I stepped out to grab coffee, my parents handed over the keys to my house, to my brother and his family of 5. When I got back, they casually told me, "That place is way too big for just one person anyway. I bought my 3-bedroom house 2 years ago after working my ass off since college. It's nothing fancy, a modest single-story home in a quiet suburb about 40 minutes from the city center. But it's mine, or at least I thought it was. I work as a software engineer for a mid-sized tech company, and I saved every penny I could for 6 years. I lived with roommates in cramped apartments where I could hear every conversation through paper-thin walls. I drove the same beat-up Honda Civic I'd had since high school while watching my friends upgrade to newer models. I meal prepped every Sunday, ate countless packets of ramen, and said no to vacations, concerts, and nights out. All because I had this dream of owning my own space. The day I got the keys was one of the happiest of my life. I actually sat on the floor of the empty living room and cried. Finally, I had something that was just mine, a place where I could walk around in my boxers, play music without worrying about neighbors, and set up my home office exactly how I wanted it. The house has 3 bedrooms, the master where I sleep, one I converted into my office since I work from home 3 days a week, and a guest room that doubles as my hobby space for building model trains. Yes, I'm a nerd, sue me. Last Sunday, my parents called and said they wanted to come over for dinner. This wasn't unusual. They live about an hour away and visit maybe once a month. Mom insisted on bringing food, which should have been red flag number 1. She only brings her special occasion casserole when she's about to drop heavy news. Remember when she brought it to tell me Grandpa needed surgery? Or when my childhood dog had to be put down? Yeah, that casserole. They showed up around 6, all smiles and hugs. Dad complimented the new bushes I'd planted out front. Mom gushed about how clean I kept the place. We sat down to eat, and I was actually enjoying myself, telling them about a promotion I was up for at work. Then Dad cleared his throat, red flag number 2. "James," he said, using his serious voice, "your mother and I have some wonderful news." I braced myself. Last time they had wonderful news, it was that they were selling my childhood home to downsize. And could I help them move? "Your brother Michael's family is moving in with you next week." I literally laughed. Actually burst out laughing because surely this was some weird joke. Michael is my older brother, 31, married to Jennifer for 10 years. They have 3 kids, Thomas, 8, Ashley, 6, and little Henry, 3. Chaos incarnate, the lot of them, though I love them in small doses. "That's funny, Mom," I said, still chuckling. "You almost had me." But they weren't laughing. They weren't even smiling anymore. Mom launched into this prepared speech about how Michael lost his job 3 months ago. I knew about this. He'd been laid off from his position as a marketing manager when his company downsized. What I didn't know was that they'd been struggling to make rent on their apartment. What I really didn't know was that my parents had been driving by my house regularly, casing it like burglars, noting that I only use 1 bedroom and have all that wasted space. "It's perfect," Mom explained, her eyes shining with the fervor of someone who'd convinced themselves their terrible idea was actually brilliant. "The children can share your office. There's plenty of room for bunk beds. Michael and Jennifer can take the guest room. You'll hardly notice they're there." I stopped chewing mid-bite. "You're serious?" "Of course we're serious," Dad said, frowning at my tone. "Your brother needs help. Family helps family." "By asking," I said slowly, putting down my fork. "Family helps family by asking, not by ambushing them with fait accompli at dinner." "Don't be dramatic," Mom waved her hand dismissively. "We knew you'd overthink it if we asked in advance. This way it's all settled." "Settled? What's settled?" My voice was rising. "You can't just decide someone's moving into my house." Here's where it got really insane. They'd already told Michael I'd agreed to this. They'd already helped him give notice on his apartment. The kids had already been told they were moving in with fun Uncle James, who had a big backyard and a tree perfect for a swing. Jennifer had already started planning where to put their furniture. "Their furniture?" I asked, feeling dizzy. "Where exactly are they putting furniture in my fully furnished house?" "Oh, we'll figure it out," Mom said breezily. "Maybe some of your things can go in storage. You young people have too much stuff anyway." I tried explaining that I work from home, that my office isn't just a luxury but a necessity, that the guest room has my model train layout that I've been working on for 2 years, that I specifically bought a house this size to have space for my hobbies and interests. "Hobbies?" Dad actually scoffed. "James, You're 27 years old. It's time to think about more than hobbies. Your brother has real responsibilities. And I don't. I shot back. My mortgage isn't a real responsibility. My job isn't real because I don't have kids. Mom reached across the table and patted my hand like I was a child throwing a tantrum. Sweetie, we know you work hard, but you have to admit this house is too big for one person. It's wasteful. At least this way, the space gets used properly. Properly? Like my use of my own house was improper. They had it all planned out. Michael would help with groceries in exchange for living there rent-free. Just until he gets back on his feet, Mom assured me, though she couldn't say how long that might take. The kids would be no trouble at all because Jennifer is such a wonderful mother. They'd already discussed house rules. Apparently, I'd need to be mindful of the children's bedtime and keep noise down after 8 p.m. House rules. I laughed, but it wasn't funny. You're setting house rules for him. Why? House. Don't be selfish, James. Mom's voice turned sharp. Do you really want your brother's family on the street? Do you want your nephews and niece homeless? What kind of person hoards space while family suffers? The guilt trip was expertly deployed. Mom's a master at it. She went on about how proud they'd been when I bought the house, how they'd bragged to all their friends about their successful son. But apparently, that pride came with strings attached, strings that could puppet me into giving up my autonomy the moment someone else needed what I had. I pointed out that they had a 4-bedroom house with just the two of them. If family helps family, why weren't they offering? Don't be ridiculous, Dad said. We're retired. We need our peace and quiet. But I didn't. I wasn't retired. I was working from that very house. The conversation went in circles. Every practical concern I raised was dismissed. Every emotional plea was met with guilt. Every logical argument was countered with family obligation. By the end, they weren't even pretending to ask anymore. They were informing me of what was happening. The worst part was the premeditation. This wasn't a desperate plea from Michael. This was a coordinated attack. They'd planned this dinner, planned their arguments, planned to present it as a done deal to manipulate me into compliance. They knew I'd have a harder time saying no if they'd already set everything in motion. As they left, Mom hugged me and whispered, "I'm so proud of you for doing this. You're such a good brother." I hadn't agreed to anything, but in their minds, my silence was consent. That was 5 days ago. Since then, my phone hasn't stopped. Michael texts constantly, gratitude for my generosity, pictures of the kids drawing thank you cards for Uncle James, questions about move-in logistics. Jennifer sent me a Pinterest board she created for our new home with decorating ideas for the kids' room, my office. My parents text daily reminders about being there for the move-in, as if I'm hosting a party instead of being invaded. Extended family have started reaching out too. Apparently, the news of my selfless gesture has made the rounds. My aunt called me a blessing. My cousin said she wished her siblings were as generous as me. My grandma sent a card with $50 for me to buy something nice for the kids' room. I haven't responded to anyone. I can't, because if I open my mouth, I'll scream. If I start typing, I'll say things I can't take back. I'm paralyzed between fury and guilt, between standing my ground and keeping the peace. But peace for whom? Certainly not for me. I keep walking through my house, touching things like they're already gone. My office with its carefully organized desk, dual monitors, and the model train layout I've spent countless evenings perfecting. The guest room with its reading nook where I spend Sunday mornings with coffee and a book. The living room arranged exactly how I like it, with my gaming setup and the couch positioned perfectly for movie nights. In 5 days, it'll all be gone, transformed into a chaotic family home where I'm not the family, just a landlord who happens to live there, too. Where my carefully cultivated peace is shattered by screaming children and displaced furniture and the constant reminder that what's mine isn't really mine if someone else needs it more. I worked so hard for this house, sacrificed so much, and now I'm expected to hand it over with a smile because family helps family, but only, apparently, when I'm the one doing the helping. Am I crazy? Am I selfish? Or am I just a person who wanted one thing that was actually truly mine? Update 1, posted 5 days later. I wanted to thank everyone who responded to my original post. Your comments gave me the courage to at least try to stand up for myself. I called Michael the next morning after reading your advice. I tried to be calm, reasonable, explained that our parents had overstepped, that while I wanted to help, having his entire family move in wasn't feasible. I offered to help him look for affordable rentals, maybe even help with a deposit if needed. He didn't answer. I left a voicemail. Then I texted, laying everything out clearly. How our parents had ambushed me, how I hadn't actually agreed, how we needed to find a different solution. I was proud of that text. It was firm but kind, offering alternatives while maintaining boundaries. He didn't respond to that either. What he did do was show up 2 days ago with a U-Haul. I'd gone to get coffee, just a 20-minute run to my favorite local place for a morning latte and some fucking peace to think. When I turned onto my street, there it was. A massive U-Haul partially blocking my driveway, its ramp down, furniture already being unloaded onto him. Why, lawn. I parked haphazardly and ran up to find Michael directing 2 movers, actual professional movers, carrying a bunk bed through my front door. My front door, which was propped open like it was move-in day at a college dorm. Michael, what the fuck? He turned, grinning, and actually had the audacity to try to hug me. There he is, the man of the hour. Mom said you might be shy about the whole thing, but I knew you'd come through. Shy. Like I was a bashful child afraid to accept praise for my generosity. Inside was worse. Jennifer was in my kitchen rearranging cabinets. "Oh good, you're here," she chirped. I was trying to figure out the best system. Where do you keep your Tupperware? I'll need to child-proof these lower cabinets. The kids were running wild. Thomas had found my Xbox and was asking if I had any appropriate games. Ashley was jumping on my couch in her shoes. Henry, sweet, 3-year-old Henry, was drawing on my hallway wall with a blue crayon. "Jennifer," I shouted, "he's drawing on the wall." She glanced over casually. "Oh, that's okay, we'll paint over it. Kids need to express themselves. We don't stifle creativity in our family. Our family. In M. Y. House. With M. Y. Walls." I grabbed Michael's arm and dragged him outside. "I never agreed to this. I texted you. I called you. This isn't happening." His face went through this bizarre transformation. Confusion, hurt, then a sort of condescending concern. "James, buddy, I know this is a big step for you. It's okay to be nervous about the change. But Mom explained everything. You're just overthinking it." "I'm not overthinking anything. This is M.Y. House, right? And now it's our home," he said slowly, like I was having trouble with basic concepts. "Just temporarily. Until I get back on my feet." "Which is when?" He shrugged. "Few months. Jennifer thinks maybe by next summer we'll have enough saved for our own place. This economy, you know." Next summer. It was October. That's when the cavalry arrived. My parents' car pulled up like they'd been circling the block, waiting for their cue. They got out with the practice synchronization of people who'd rehearsed this. "Oh good, you're home," Mom said brightly. "We were worried you might miss the big day." What followed was a masterclass in manipulation. Every concern I raised was deflected. Every boundary I tried to set was trampled. I was making a scene in front of the movers. I was confusing the children who were so excited about their new home. I was being difficult when Michael had already given up his apartment. Hadn't I gotten his notice of that? No. Well, communication could be improved on all sides. Dad pulled out the big guns. "Your brother could have moved in with us. But we suggested your place because we thought you'd want to be the one to help. We thought we raised you better than this." There it was. The disappointment card. But the killing blow came from Michael. "Look, Jamie. He only calls me Jamie when he's trying to be the big brother. I get it. You've been living the bachelor life. No responsibilities. Just your toys and your games. But sometimes life asks more of us. Sometimes we have to step up and be men, not just boys playing house." Playing house. In the house I bought. With money I earned. At the job he used to mock for being just typing all day. While we argued, the movers kept working, box after box, bed after bed. The entire contents of a 5-person household flowing into my 3-bedroom house, like water breaching a dam. By the time my family had worn me down to stunned silence, it was done. The truck was empty. The movers were paid, by my parents, I noted. They had money for movers, but not to help with Michael's rent. Jennifer had hung their family photos in MY living room. The kids had claimed their spaces. My office was already being disassembled to make room for bunk beds. Michael's temporary office, a card table with his laptop, was set up where my reading chair used to be. "See," Mom said, surveying the chaos with satisfaction. "Everything fits perfectly. It's like this house was meant for a family." That night, after they'd finally left me alone, in my own bedroom, the only space still recognizably mine, Michael knocked. "Can we talk brother to brother?" Brother to brother. Not tenant to homeowner. Not guest to host. Brother to brother. As if that relationship superseded all others, including my relationship to my own property. He sat on my bed uninvited and gave me this whole speech about gratitude and family, and knowing this was hard for me, but appreciating the sacrifice. He promised they'd be the perfect house guests. Respectful, clean, quiet. The kids are just excited. He explained when we heard a crash from down the hall. They'll settle in. Then he dropped the bomb that's been echoing in my head ever since. Besides, Mom and Dad are right. What do you really need all this space for? You're single, no girlfriend, no kids. At least now the house will have some life in it. Some purpose. Purpose. Like my life, my comfort, my peace. None of that was purpose enough. Jennifer knocked next, holding a laminated piece of paper. I made this, she announced proudly. House rules. For my house. Including a quiet hours, 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. For the children, a bathroom schedule to avoid conflicts, a kitchen cleaning rotation, family dinner time, 6 p.m. sharp, mandatory attendance, a weekly family meetings, Sundays at 2 p.m. A no guests after 9 p.m. Without family approval, a no alcohol in common areas. A TV content must be family appropriate until after bedtime. I know it seems like a lot, she said, mistaking my shocked silence for confusion. But structure is so important for children. You'll get used to it. I'm typing this at 3 a.m. because Henry had a nightmare and his screaming woke the whole house. Jennifer knocked on my door to ask if I could check the closet for monsters since Uncle James is braver than Daddy and Michael needs his sleep for job hunting. I'm hiding in my own bedroom in my own house, looking at rental listings on my phone because I can't imagine living like this. The comments on my last post were right. I should have stopped this immediately, but I was raised to be the good son, the helpful brother, the one who never makes waves. Now I'm drowning in the waves they've made in my life, and they're all standing on the shore, applauding my swimming form. Update 2, posted 3 weeks later. It's been 3 weeks of living in what I can only describe as a family-themed occupation of my own home. Every day brings new violations of my space, my peace, and my sanity. I've started keeping a journal to document everything, partly for legal reasons, more on that later, and partly to reassure myself that I'm not going crazy. The first week was about establishing dominance. Settling in. Jennifer systematically went through every room, rearranging everything to be child-friendly and more functional for a family. My kitchen became unrecognizable. My coffee maker, which I'd used every morning for 2 years in the same spot, was relegated to a high shelf to make room for a bottle warmer. When I pointed out that Henry is 3 and doesn't use bottles, she laughed and said it was for warming his chocolate milk because he's particular about temperature. My living room transformed into a daycare center. My 65-inch TV that I'd saved for months to buy, covered in fingerprints and sticky handprints within days. The streaming services all got locked down with parental controls. My carefully curated movie collection was boxed up because some of those covers are frightening for children. These are DVDs stored in a closed cabinet, mind you, but the real power play came when they annexed the garage. I'd used half of it as a workshop. Nothing fancy, just a workbench, some tools, and projects in various stages. It was my retreat, my creative space. Michael decided it was a safety hazard and needed to be, temporarily, cleared out. He sold my tools. Let me repeat that, he sold my tools. I came home from work to find him loading my table saw into some stranger's truck. Don't worry, he said, counting cash. I got a good price. This'll help with the kids' school supplies. He handed me $300 for tools worth at least $3,000 and acted like he'd done me a favor. Now you don't have to worry about maintaining all that equipment. When I exploded, yes, I finally actually lost my temper. Jennifer immediately swooped in with the kids. Uncle James is having big feelings, she announced, like I was one of her toddlers. Let's give him space to calm down. They evacuated him. Why? Living room like it was a bomb site, leaving me standing there, shaking with rage, being treated like an unstable element in my own home. The gaslighting is constant. Every complaint is met with concern for my adjustment issues. Every boundary I try to set is making things difficult for the children. When I locked my bedroom door to work in peace, Jennifer texted family group chat, which I'd been added to without my consent, that she was worried about James isolating himself and maybe I needed to talk to someone about my antisocial tendencies. Michael, meanwhile, has fully embraced his role as patriarch of our house. He's changed internet passwords for the children's safety. He's met with neighbors to discuss fence options, introducing himself as the family man who's taking care of the place. He even accepted a package for me and opened it because we don't keep secrets in a family home. It was a graphics card, a $600 graphics card I'd ordered for my gaming setup, which he decided was excessive and offered to return for me since that money could be better spent on family needs. That's when I snapped and called a lawyer. Turns out, the legal situation is complicated but not hopeless, since they haven't paid rent and there's no lease. They're guests, not tenants, yet. But if I let this go on much longer, they could claim tenancy rights. The lawyer advised me to document everything and serve a formal notice to quit ASAP. But that won't solve the family problem, he warned. These situations get ugly. Ugly? It was already ugly. It got uglier when I started pushing back. I changed the Wi-Fi password and refused to share it until we discussed household expenses. Michael's response? He called a family meeting. My parents came over to mediate in M.Y. house, where I was put on trial for being financially aggressive with family. If money's tight for you, Dad suggested, maybe you overextended yourself buying this house. Money wasn't tight. Supporting 5 extra people was tight, but pointing that out made me the bad guy focusing on material things over family. The meeting concluded with them deciding without my input that I needed to see a therapist about my control issues and inability to share. Jennifer had already researched some who took my insurance. Wasn't that helpful of her? That's when the journal became documentation. Every decision made without me. Every item moved, removed, or destroyed. Every time I was treated like a problem to be managed rather than the owner of the house. The kids, I'll admit, break my heart a little. They didn't ask for this. Thomas asked me why I don't smile anymore. Ashley made me a drawing of our happy family house with me standing off to the side, looking sad. Henry still runs to hug me every morning, even though I can barely muster enthusiasm anymore. But their parents use them like emotional warfare weapons. Any resistance is met with, "You're upsetting the children," or "Think about what lesson this teaches them." When I put a lock on my bedroom door, Jennifer explained to the kids, loudly, in earshot, that Uncle James needs private time because he's not used to having a loving family around. Last week was Thanksgiving. I'd planned to spend it alone in blessed peace, maybe order Chinese food and binge-watch movies. But no, Jennifer had invited both sets of grandparents to our house for a family Thanksgiving. She'd already bought a turkey with my credit card. She'd memorized the numbers from that one time I'd ordered pizza for everyone. "I thought you'd want to host," she explained, "since it's the biggest house in the family." I spent Thanksgiving being treated like a guest at my own table, in my own house, eating food bought with my money, while everyone praised Michael and Jennifer for bringing the family together, and me for finally opening up my home and heart. My grandmother pulled me aside after dinner. "It's so nice to see this house full of life," she said. "It was so sad thinking of you here all alone. Now it's a real home. A real home. Because, apparently, my life, my comfort, my solitary peace, none of that was real. The breaking point came yesterday. I got home from a brutal day at work. A client had screamed at me for an hour about a bug that turned out to be user error, desperate for just 10 minutes of quiet. Instead, I found a contractor in my living room with Michael, discussing converting the garage into a proper playroom. "We're just getting estimates," Michael said casually. "Don't worry, we'll handle everything. Handle everything. In my house." I locked myself in my bedroom and called the lawyer back. "Draw up the papers," I said. "I want them out. You realize this will probably nuke your family relationships," he warned. I looked around my bedroom, the only 150 square feet in this 1,800 square foot house that still belonged to me, and said, "Good. Final update. Posted 3 months after initial post. This is it. The end of this bizarre chapter of my life, though I suspect it's also the end of my relationship with most of my family. I'm oddly at peace with that. After my last update, I served Michael with a formal notice to quit. 30 days to vacate my property. I did it properly, had it legally served, documented everything, followed my lawyer's advice to the letter. I installed security cameras in all common areas, legal in my state since it's my house, and started the countdown. The fallout was immediate and spectacular. Michael tried to laugh it off at first. "Very funny, Jamie. I get it. You're stressed. We'll try to keep the kids quieter." When he realized I was serious, he shifted to anger. How could I do this to my own brother? To my nephews and niece? What kind of monster throws family onto the street? Jennifer went full mama bear. She called me heartless, selfish, probably a sociopath. She told the kids that Uncle James didn't love them anymore, which led to Ashley sobbing at my bedroom door, asking what she did wrong. That almost broke me. I had to explain through the door, because I couldn't open it without Jennifer swooping in, that I loved her very much. But sometimes adults need their own spaces. My parents, predictably, lost their minds. Mom showed up the next day in hysterics. "How could you do this to us?" she wailed. Not to Michael, to them. Because, apparently, this was all about their image as the perfect family. Dad was colder. "You're dead to me," he said quietly. "I have one son now." "Good," I replied. "He can move in with you." That's when the truth started tumbling out. They didn't want Michael's family living with them. Mom needed her craft room. Dad couldn't handle the noise with his migraines. Their house was their sanctuary, but mine was just wasted space that should be grateful to have a purpose. The extended family picked sides. Some were appalled by my cruelty. Others, mostly the ones who'd hosted Michael's family before, quietly supported me. My aunt called to say she understood. "We had them for 2 weeks once," she said. "Never again." As the 30 days ticked down, things escalated. Michael stopped all pretense of job hunting. Why bother when heartless brother was throwing them out anyway? Jennifer made the house unbearable. Loud music during my work hours, kids accidentally barging into my room during video calls, messes everywhere as she'd stopped even basic cleaning. They tried everything. Guilt trips about the children, threats about family abandonment, even attempts to claim tenant rights, shut down quickly by my lawyer. Michael offered to pay rent, $500 a month, for 5 people in a 3-bedroom house. When I laughed, he accused me of being money hungry. 2 weeks before the deadline, I made a discovery that explained so much. While reviewing security footage after my gaming headset went missing, I caught Michael in my bedroom going through my desk. He found and photographed my financial documents, bank statements, investment accounts, everything. Turns out, he'd been telling everyone I was rich, sitting on piles of money while his family struggled. The truth, I'm comfortable. I budget carefully, save aggressively, and live below my means. But to someone like Michael, having any savings means you're rich and therefore obligated to share. I confronted him with the footage. His response, "I knew you were hiding something. You could easily afford to support us. You're just selfish." That's when Jennifer made her biggest mistake. She tried to rally the troops by posting on Facebook a long dramatic post about how her children were being made homeless by their cruel uncle who chose his expensive toys over family. She tagged everyone we knew. I responded with security footage. Michael rifling through my belongings. Jennifer throwing away my food to make room for theirs. The kids destroying my property while their parents watched. Michael on his laptop trading cryptocurrency instead of job hunting. The contractor visit planning renovations to him. Why? House. The tide turned. Suddenly people were messaging me privately, sharing their own stories of being used by family. Several cousins admitted they'd been warned about loaning Michael money. Former coworkers mentioned he'd been fired for cause, not laid off. With 5 days left on the notice, my parents made one last attempt. They invited me to dinner at their house to resolve this like adults. I went, partly out of curiosity and partly to record the conversation, legal in my state with one-party consent. It was an ambush. Not just my parents, but Michael, Jennifer, their pastor, and my dad's brother, all there to intervention me into letting them stay. The pastor spoke about Christian charity. My uncle talked about family loyalty. Mom cried about grandchildren on the street. Where are they supposed to go? Mom demanded. To your house, I said simply. You have 4 bedrooms. We can't handle children at our age, Dad protested. But I can, while working full-time, in a house I pay for. The pastor suggested I was too attached to worldly possessions. I asked if he'd like to house Michael's family. He declined. That's when I dropped my bomb. I've already lined up a property management company. After you leave, I'm renting out the 2 spare rooms. Market rate. The rental income will help me rebuild my savings after supporting 5 extra people for months. The explosion was glorious. I was choosing money over family. I was heartless. I was probably gay, Jennifer's contribution, since no normal man would choose solitude over family life. Maybe I am choosing money, I said, standing to leave. Just like you chose my house over yours. Just like Michael chose cryptocurrency day trading over job hunting. Just like you all chose to treat me like a resource instead of a person. I left them there, speechless. Moving day was yesterday. They waited until the last possible moment, probably hoping I'd cave. I didn't. I hired movers myself to ensure everything went smoothly and nothing of mine, accidentally, left with them. Michael made one last attempt. Where are we supposed to go? He asked as the last box was loaded. Mom and Dad's, I replied. They don't have room for us. Neither do I. Jennifer hustled the kids past me without letting them say goodbye. Mom and Dad showed up to glare at me from their car. None of them spoke to me. Last night, I sat in my empty, quiet mine house for the first time in 3 months. I ordered Chinese food. I watched an R-rated movie in my living room. I walked around in my boxers. I used my kitchen without asking permission or working around someone else's schedule. It was glorious. This morning, I woke up to 47 text messages. Michael and Jennifer are at my parents' house, and it's not going well. Mom's craft room is now a kid's room. Dad's dealing with noise during his afternoon naps. Jennifer's trying to reorganize Mom's kitchen. They're all miserable. Good. I blocked most of them. The flying monkeys who think family means being a doormat. The relatives who think having space means owing it to others. The parents who saw me as an extension of themselves rather than an individual. I kept Ashley's drawing of our happy family house. It reminds me that love doesn't mean letting people take advantage of you. That family isn't about obligation, but mutual respect. That sometimes the best thing you can do for everyone is say no. My therapist, one I chose myself, not the one Jennifer researched, says I'm grieving. Not just the family relationships, but the illusion of what they were. The fantasy that my family loved me for me, not for what I could provide. It hurts. But it's a clean hurt, like resetting a broken bone so it can heal properly. The house is mine again. I'm converting the office back slowly, savoring each piece of furniture returned to its place. The guest room will stay a guest room for friends who respect boundaries and ask before visiting. The garage will get new tools eventually when I've rebuilt my savings. I'm not the son or brother they wanted me to be. The eternal giver, the family resource, the empty vessel to fill with their needs. I'm just James, a single guy with a 3-bedroom house that's exactly the right size for one person who likes his space. And that's enough.